Hi, my name is Jacob Bimblich. The program is Discovering Yourself. I have the immense pleasure of having a very, very special guest today. His name is George Bien. He is not only a hypnotherapist, but he is the trainer of trainers. For many years he's actually about one of the best known hypnotherapists since Milton Erickson. He is in a class by himself, and I say that from my own personal knowledge, being myself a hypnotherapist for over 30 years. George, we're going to speak to him about hypnosis, but there's no one better than George to let us know explain to us what hypnosis is. And also, we're going to learn how does someone becomes a hypnotist. Are we born as hypnotists, or do we learn to be one? Like the sign in the corner store that was selling sandwiches says, "Heroes are not born, they are made." Hi, George.
Jacob,
how are you?
That was very good. But how do I follow an introduction like that?
Well, just by being yourself. Like they say, a flower can bring pleasure just by being a flower. They don't even have to try. And the same thing, when you are great, you don't have to do anything but just be yourself.
May I blush?
If you want to. But basically, tell me, what is hypnosis?
Well, there are many definitions. Sometimes they have very academic definitions out there, like hypnosis is essentially a psychophysiological state of aroused, attentive, receptive focal concentration with a corresponding diminution of peripheral awareness. And that even confuses me. But actually, hypnosis, anytime we have a bypass of that part of us that's always evaluating, always trying to criticize, always trying to think, when that part is bypassed, then a hypnotic state is created. And that happens on and on every day for each of us.
Is there any practical applications to that particular modality that you described just now so clearly?
So clearly. Well, the basic practical modality is that all change happens on the subconscious level. Some people call it unconscious mind. Some people call it superconscious mind. Some people call it just altered state. But all change happens on that subconscious level. So hence, if we're able to get to that state very easily, very effortlessly, and very clearly, then we create any kind of change we want to very quickly.
That's amazing. By the way, if you notice that George speaks sometimes a little too fast, that's because he learned English through records and he always played it at the wrong speed.
The double speed.
But now, George, a hypnotist is somebody that is born as a hypnotist and then they practice that like psychics and things like that, or hypnosis is something that is learned. Hypnotists are trained. How does that work?
Rather than being born so much as the hypnotist, okay, which we can call the operator, we are born more as a subject. Because as a child is born, a child is so open to everything that's around his or her environment. And usually the first hypnotist we encounter is our mother. Because the mothers say, "Stop that, you're bad." Now a child is momentarily shocked when he or she hears "stop that." And the words, "you are bad." Those are the words that go in the creative mind. Or let's say there's an emotion involved. The mother or father, whatever the case may be, or so whatever significant person there is, will take the child, embrace the child, and hold the child so closely there's an emotion. Say, "I love you." So the words that are going in are "I love you." So we come in more as a subject rather than the hypnotist. But then we evolve more and more as hypnotists.
So actually, you would say that even though the people that haven't taken formal training, like mothers and fathers, they kind of, without realizing it, they are hypnotizing the child from the moment he's born.
From the moment the child is born.
And all those experiences that carry on in the future life.
As a matter of fact, because of that initial hypnosis is why many of these children who later become adults go into therapy, because of the initial hypnotizing.
Because I guess perhaps there was improper or negative suggestions.
Yeah, sometimes well-meaning, well-intentioned.
Right.
But because the parents don't understand the nature of hypnosis, don't understand the nature of how the mind works, they will impact the child in a certain way that can be debilitating later on.
Yeah, I can understand that. I think that many of us have been victims of that particular circumstances and all those suggestions even suggestions by originally from our parents, but also from even friends or teachers or rabbis or priests or whatever. We are always in constant subjects to suggestion. And I guess what the hypnotist has done, he has learned about it, and now he channels all that experience into a more productive way. Would you say that?
Well, if he or she is a productive hypnotist. I mean, there's some
Right.
hypnotists who are not so productive. They're looking to control. Now, let me just explain something about control. Nobody can control you without your consent. However, there are ways of utilizing hypnosis where a person can be utilizing the process without you being aware of it. And it's important that people understand that. In other words, I may say to you, it's a nice day, and I think perhaps you would like to take this program. I'm saying it's a nice day, and perhaps you would like to take this program. But the actual embedded statement in there is, you would like to take this program. So people have to become aware of that. It's not so much the person who is trained just as a hypnotist and as a teacher or as a therapist, but the salesperson out there. And I think people should open their ears, open their eyes, and just extend their feelings out so they in turn can capture a lot of these statements and see how people are using them, because this is about influence and persuasion.
So actually what you're saying are that people can be manipulated with not too great of an effort if you know exactly how to do it.
Madison Avenue knows very well. I mean, within 30 seconds, sometimes 15 seconds, that's all they have to get your attention, to get you to buy a product. So obviously they know the tools quite well.
Yeah, and if I see how much money they invest in advertising, it must pay, because otherwise they wouldn't be doing it in a constant basis, and there wouldn't be so many advertising agencies.
And
So
they're paying these advertising agencies, and I would say they're paying these hypno-advertising agencies.
That's amazing. You know, it's really very interesting. It's a field that, you know, even though I am in it, it never stops to fascinate me, how the human mind works and how successful it is to persuade somebody. I mean, to change a lifetime habit sometimes, smoking, weight control, phobias. And I know you deal sometimes with even more complex situations like child abuse. You have dealt with that also?
Child abuse, sexual abuse in childhood, and sometimes even in adulthood. These things go on, and they're coming more and more into the forefront. People are able to share these things. They're able to look themselves not so much as victims, but now as survivors. Because it's not a question of so much being in control. Because once you think of yourself as a victim, you have given away your power to the person who's been the aggressor in that case. When you think of yourself as a survivor, you have survived something, and now it's time to move on with your life. Because it is about moving on. Everything's in flux, everything's constantly changing, and we are constantly changing. As long as we realize that we're constantly changing, how do you want to change?
That sounds very interesting. Actually, the perception of your own self on a specific circumstances changes your entire attitude towards the problem. Is that what you would be saying?
What we do is we are perceptual shifters.
Yes.
Because we do not change events that happened. We just change the associations that people have created with these events. And that's what gets the person to move on with his or her life.
I guess also, like you mentioned before, the incident is a beautiful day and you want to do this. It's the association of a pleasantness.
Mm-hmm.
And then that will follow through by association.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, here we are actually teaching our audience certain techniques of persuasion and hypnosis. Okay, I know part of it is being a subject, part of it is... So basically also, somebody mentioned once that every hypnosis is self-hypnosis.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
Definitely true. That's why I say nobody will hypnotize you against your will. However, there's a way of working in some specific strategies that salespeople know that they can do without you knowing it. I mentioned that too. Yet even with that process of you not knowing it, you are still doing the hypnosis yourself, because you're opening yourself up to this. They cannot open you up. You are doing it. They cannot demand this unless they put a gun to your head, perhaps. But without that gun, they can't demand you to do anything. They can persuade you because you have made the decision. So each time you are making the decision to accept a suggestion.
Well, I would say then that will come very handy in relationships and marriages.
Oh, definitely. If people realize the associations that are created with, let's say in a marriage, or any kind of a situation where two people are living together. Let's say a marriage, or the wife comes home from work, and the husband's there. And the wife comes home very upset from work because she had a really tough day. So she's not feeling very good. And the husband says, oh, things are going to be fine. Oh, it's okay. Well, I mean, he should understand the women don't really want an answer. They want to just listen to. But here she is, and he's saying, don't worry, honey, everything's going to be fine and all of this. Now, she's feeling terrible. Now, if he doesn't resolve this issue, for her. Guess what happens? All those negative feelings, she's looking at him while she's feeling them. So later on, when she sees him again, she's going to be feeling these feelings and not even realize why. And he won't even know why. She might be upset with him. And she may not realize why.
Yeah, that's what psychologists call objects of displaced aggression.
Yeah.
Where you actually are angry at something else and then you displace it into somebody else.
Because the association
Right.
was created with that anger.
Now, how does one actually becomes a hypnotist? I mean, I know I went to college. I went to a 4-year college, and we never had a course in hypnosis in there, even though things might have changed. I graduated 30 years ago. Don't ask my age, please. But actually, then I've never seen any hypnosis courses. How does someone becomes a hypnotist?
Well, today there are a lot of courses available. I teach a number of courses. I've taught courses for the largest hypnosis organizations in the world, the National Guild of Hypnotists, the American Board of Hypnotherapy, and presently I'm certifying for the International Association of Counselors and Therapists, which I think is a wonderful organization that really truly benefits its membership. And there are trainings that are available. There are weekend courses, there are 2 weekend courses, there are extensive programs that go on for months, and people should seek out instructors, be it me or somebody else who has notoriety in the business.
Right.
And don't just look and see an ad, because sometimes, I mean, there are people in there who are advertising in 6, 7, 8, 10 magazines and big pictures of them. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily the best teachers. You have to find out from the students and what the students are doing. Because you call the person up and say, sure, oh yeah, you come here, you take this program, it's the best program and all of this, and I'm the best teacher. Some may say that, of course not in those exact words. But find out from people who have graduated the programs and see what they're doing with their lives, even if they're not practicing professionally. How are their lives being enhanced?
Yeah, because I think that when you take a course and certification to become a hypnotherapist, and you become a certified hypnotherapist, not only you have an option of making a career change, but I think you can actually use it for personal gain in terms of your own personal life, personal attitude that you can change. It kind of empowers you to do things that you were not able to do before, of dealing or related or interacting with people. And I'm speaking from my own experience as I learned hypnosis. It helps you interact with people. It makes it for stronger, healthier relationships. I mean, it's incredible the power of the mind, the power of suggestion, and you approach it. And besides that, again, it's an option for a career change.
It is.
I know you teach those certification courses, and the people that take your courses become certified by the International Association of Counselors and Therapists. And you are very honest about, telling the people to find the instructor through recommendation. I think that recommendation from people that experience the learning process, and they can make a more of a wise description of, yes, he was a good teacher, I learned a lot out of him, would be the best source, rather than just finding 1,000 advertisings out there, because unfortunately the vast majority of individuals are motivated just by money. Then there are some who have the knowledge, they have the recognition of being the best instructors, of having done it for many years, of having trained incredible number of people. As I said, I know some of them maybe might have gone through certain advertising, but I know that, I'm just speaking about my experience with you, that yours has a lot of word of mouth kind of referrals that come to you for hypnotherapists. And
thank you, they do.
And I know I do lectures sometimes for the different hypnotherapist convention, and I have met quite a few of your graduates, and I want to just praise you for a job well done.
Well, thank you. I'm glad I came here.
Yes, I always like to have good guests. I'm very selective on whom I pick as my guest. I don't just take it at random. As a matter of fact, there are times where I couldn't get a good guest, and what I have done is I have interviewed myself.
Then you know you're going to have a good guest.
Yes, then I know I have a good guest. Thank you, George.
Let me just say something about what you mentioned before, and it's so important about self-empowerment. Because I even tell people in my trainings, especially in the basic course, I say, people, if you walk out of here and never become a professional hypnotist, I really don't care. The thing I care about is that you truly, honestly enhance your life. Because the point is, every one of these techniques can be used in sales, and we are all salespeople because we're always selling ourselves. And you talk about how these hypnotic techniques have helped you. I was very, very shy. I was a musician for many years, and I always had to be in the background. I could never be the soloist in front. I always had to be in the back because I was so shy. And if the lights shined on me, I would tense up, the hands would shake, and I could not play to my optimum capability. So through this process, it really helped me overcome a tremendous barrier. And even when I was teaching college, because I taught college for 7 years, while I was teaching college, I used to love being in the seat behind the desk. I was afraid to come out to these students, and these were young kids, most of them. And I'd be afraid to come out and speak to them. I'd say, oh, they might know more than me, or I may not come across well. And the hypnotic process, I mean, now, if I make a mistake, I make a mistake, and I can laugh at myself.
You were using the desk as a shield,
sure.
kind of like.
The desk is a shield. My guitar is a shield. At one time, I was smoking many years ago. The cigarette was a shield. Everything was a shield. My hands like this. People say, oh, he's angry. No. I was afraid. And I was hiding myself to hide and contain that fear. So the hypnotic process got me right through that.
Oh, it's amazing. It's interesting about body language that you just happened to mention to us just this few seconds ago. And I guess probably that's one of the things that you became aware of is as you became a hypnotherapist, I guess, to learn to read people.
Yeah, and to read congruency. Because a person can say, I love that person. And this is very obvious, but you see, this is totally incongruent. I love that person. That's a very obvious one. But there are subtle incongruencies. And the point is you have to be able to pick up the analog. An analog is simply a constellation of expressive behaviors that people have. So you get their analog. Once you see their analog, you could perhaps be a so-called mind reader even.
That's amazing. It's really true. Body language is so descriptive, almost like talking with sign language. Or even verbally expressing how you feel sometimes to someone who is well-trained, well-knowledgeable, can actually almost communicate with you just by the way you move, by the signs that you, or what you say, but read in between the lines.
Well, let's not say anything for a minute. Let's just move a little. Communicate.
Well, actually, like psychologists say, there's the content. When people speak, there's the content and there's the intent. Mm-hmm. And they rarely are the same. So it is up to the trained individual to be able to actually read in between the lines, read the body language, read when you move, read when you smile, or even read when you blink. As a matter of fact, it goes beyond that. It goes also to even looking at the pupils of someone's eyes, and you can tell when the person is looking at something that they like and something that they don't like. Even though the pupil is supposed to contract when there's bright lights, yet also expands, dilates, and contracts based on you like what you're looking at or what you're not looking at. It's a very involuntary reaction. An hypnotist learns to do that. You can look at somebody when they're looking at you right straight at you, and know whether that person likes you or he doesn't.
And read the subtleties.
Yes.
And I think part of the training is to be able to read subtleties.
Now, you do those certification courses on a regular basis? Or?
Oh, I do a basic course usually every month. An advanced clinical certification usually every 2 to 3 months. I do a Master Hypnotist course every about 2 months. Plus I do courses on prosperity with hypnosis, enhancing your relationships with hypnosis. Those are ongoing.
Oh, so you got like continuing, kind of like a continuing education for hypnotists.
Oh, definitely. And a lot of the people who come to the classes are people who've been in the business 30 years, 25 years. So not just for people who've never been. And sitting right next to this person may be somebody who's just starting too. It's an interesting
right, because I
contrast.
guess you never know enough. It's always good to learn a little bit more. And when you are learning from an expert, it's always a better option to learn things that you never were aware of. So every time that I think that I know personally, I go to a lot of workshops. I know you have given some workshops at the convention, the National Guild, and you always learn something, no matter how many years. I mean, I've been being a hypnotist for 30 years, and yet I have gone to George's workshops, and I always walk out of there knowing a little bit better, and a little bit better every time. And it's nice to know that there are hypnotherapists out there that are willing to share their knowledge, not just to keep it for themselves or for their own personal gain, but to share it so that other hypnotists can learn it and apply it to their clients and to other individuals, and sometimes even to themselves. Um,
See, what's important also is
yeah.
that so many hypnotists, they try to put this on a level that's very academic. And what I do is I put it on a basic level. This is the 90s. And the 90s, it wasn't the old, like the cape and the hat and all of this, and look into my right eye or my left eye and all of this mystique. I could take the mystique out and just say, these are practical techniques. You can use them, and each one of you has a talent to use them. Like, take them away, take them out of the closet, take them out of the movie screen.
Right. A lot of times, as a matter of fact, I know it's a very common question. It's like, kind of like, are you born a hypnotist? Kind of like, it's like a secret power that you have to hypnotize and mesmerize everybody and make them actually do things that they don't want to do. I hate to admit it, but as a single man, I have problems meeting ladies, and you cannot use that power of hypnosis for anything.
That's not what I heard about you.
Well, no, but the idea is basically that we have to basically, as we are ourselves, to do with our own charm mesmerizing. And yes, there are techniques where you can be more persuasive skillfully by learning the art of hypnosis. And I guess by people being trained on hypnosis and becoming certified, they're able to not only, as I mentioned before, have a career change, but have a new attitude in their life, to look at life in a more positive manner, to be able to be more empowered to change things in their lives and in the lives of other individuals that come to you to actually have a change. Is there any suggestion that you would give, or anything that you would like to tell the people about hypnosis? Any misconception that people might have?
Well, one of the main misconceptions is that somebody controls your mind. Well, nobody controls your mind but you. You are always in control. You don't go out in hypnosis. You go in. You go into a state. People call it a trance, and that's kind of scary. It's a state. It's a pleasurable state. And the point is the person can come in and out of it anytime he or she chooses. And as far as attracting people, let's say persuading people, nothing attracts people more than enthusiasm. So there's a hypnotic process. If you're enthused about what you're doing, people get interested in what you're doing. Well, if he's so enthused, I wonder why. There must be something to that. Or if she's so enthused. And if you have a passion about what you're doing, that also attracts people, because a lot of people don't have passions about what they're doing. So if they see somebody with a vision, with a passion, that person has the makings of a leader, and hence has the makings of a very fine hypnotist who can truly empower people and alter their lives in a very positive, rewarding way.
I think that a good state of mind, a positive state of mind, is actually contagious.
Very much.
It's like if you associate yourself with positive people, you develop that positive attitude. And most hypnotists basically are pretty positive individuals through their skills that they have developed to apply it to themselves and become more positive. It's almost like self-therapy, kind of like. Ongoing therapy, because you become aware of yourself and your abilities, and they get a kind of like a good feeling about it. So I feel like most if you associate yourself with hypnotists, you'll be happy for that.
It was wonderful because, yes, you see, their associations with their senses are very heightened. I can feel tremendous things in my body right now, and it's very sensitized. I can hear much more distinctly because my ears are much more sensitized, and hence my vision. And even if a person wears glasses, it's not even a question of that, whether it's 20/20 or 20/80, whatever the case may be. Their vision is more sensitized, so they can spot certain things that the average person who does not have these processes or not have these techniques will not be able to spot. So you're constantly sensitizing all of your senses.
Yeah, that reminds me of a book was called Hypnovision. And in it they say that through hypnosis, and they have shown a lot of cases where it does work, you can actually improve eyesight.
Oh, definitely.
Through hypnosis.
Definitely. Have you been doing that lately?
Yes. Well, actually, I haven't tried it yet. But that's one of the things I learned, and I'm looking forward to maybe experience that and try to make changes in my eyesight if I want to. Well, I know we are running close to our time. We have this kind of like, I see the hands of time telling us that we only have about 60 seconds left, so I want to take the opportunity of using those 60 seconds to thank immensely George Bien for having been in my show and giving me the pleasure of his presence in my show. And I just want to thank my audience for watching my show, especially the regular ones that watch it on a steady basis and call me and tell me, give me compliments. Even the one that give me criticisms, I do appreciate. Because actually, criticism is not the opposite of love. Apathy is. So call me. Let me know how you feel. And if you have any questions about any of the issues we just discussed here, or if you choose to become a hypnotherapist and be my competition, or George's competition, go right ahead, I'll tell you. So, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for watching my program. This was Discovering Yourself by Jacob Bimblich and my special guest, George Bien. Thank you.